Good morning, and thanks for being at the Hiring for Good podcast. I am Tanis Morris, and with me, as usual, is my lovely co-host, Suzanne Hannafin.
Good morning, Tanis.
Good morning, and we are here to discuss leadership and learnings and all the good stuff with our esteemed guest today, Ali Migaki. Hiring for Good is one of the outreach programs for Acumen Executive Search. And we love to learn about leadership from people doing the work in the field. So before I get going with Ali, I'm just going to give a brief introduction. So Ali is a seasoned executive leader at IQ Credit Union, where she currently holds the role of SVP, CEO, Chief Experience Officer, known for her strategic vision and commitment to driving growth in the financial services industry, where she's approaching 3 decades of service based on a foundation of dedication and excellence provided to her clients. Ali's held various leadership roles where she's showed exceptional ability to foster team collaboration, improve operational efficiencies, and enhance member experiences. Under her leadership, IQ Credit Union has seen significant advancements in membership engagement and innovative financial solutions. Ali is widely recognized for her dedication to community-focused financial services, as well as her passion for empowering others in the industry through mentorship and advocacy for financial literacy. I will also mention that I had a front row seat to Ali's early emergence as a leader. She was the team captain of my high school soccer team, which I was a member of, and I have run many drills under her tutelage. We've known each other for almost 40 years, so this is a real treat. Ali, thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning. Thank you both for having me. This opportunity is going to be fantastic, being able to share my journey. So excited to be here.
Well, we're so excited to have you. Actually, I'm glad you already mentioned it. We would love to start by just having you tell us a little bit about your journey. And you can, we know that the road to where you are now is nuanced. And,
yes.
So go ahead and just
that could almost take like the whole hour, Tanis. So I always like to start, like my path to where I am today is not your traditional path. Like Tanis mentioned, I am an athlete. And so that was my main goal after high school, was to play soccer at the next level. And so hit some barriers, some roadblocks, and ended up going to college and having to come back. And so it's really trying to figure out, when you escape your family after being underneath the roof for 18 years and experiencing freedom and coming back, it's really difficult. And so like any family, if you're going to live under the roof, you need to be in school. So still continued education at Clark and found a part-time job. And so worked in various different areas. I worked at REI, I worked at Fred Meyers, and then found my way into banking. And so we like to call it the dark side. So I actually worked at a bank, U.S. Bank and First Independent, for about 2 years between the two of them. And in this time, really wanted to move out at the same time because of the independence, the freedom, and really wanting to be on my own. So in that meantime, I got married super young and found my home at Clark County School Employees Credit Union in the meantime. And so the reason why I chose Clark County School Employees was because my dad was a teacher, and that was like our second home, kind of. That was where I was part of the Johnny Appleseed Club. We would get tokens for depositing money. So my first account was there. My first Visa was there. My first auto loan was there. And when you walk into a branch, you feel like you're part of that organization. It was very warm. It was very welcoming. And so once I started that route, I have held about 13 various jobs, and in the meantime have had 2 fabulous children, been through a unhealthy marriage, and so really you fast forward to like 2015, divorce was final. At that time, I was the retail district manager, and so I was being able to lead our credit union, now IQ Credit Union, through a merger. And so that was a fabulous time, really trying to figure out, what do I want to do at the credit union? And it's never like I grew up and I was like, I want to be the CXO, right? I want to be the Chief Experience Officer. I think things just naturally tend to happen. So in 2015, I got divorced. I was turning 40. My kids were 10 and 5, and really made it about family and decided to really have them involved, right? Because any decision that I was going to make about my career was going to impact them as a single mom. My abilities to be with them and to make sure I was showing up for them and my profession. So through that, we overcame lots of obstacles. So survivor of domestic violence, they got to see things probably that they shouldn't have seen. But I think it builds resilience and shows a lot of probably like empowerment, right? That you can choose to take a situation and become a victim, or you can take a situation and grow from it. So a blessing in disguise. And then from there, I became the VP of retail branches. And that's when we brought two of our organizations together. So Alchemist Credit Union and IQ Credit Union became one. And we had about 13 branches and about 12 branch managers and various other leaders that I was able to get in front of and create a cohesive team. Because whenever you're bringing two different organizations together, no matter if you're both credit unions or not, the cultures are different. Memberships are different. The demographics are different. And so really, it was a lot about educating our community about who we are and what we're about.
Yeah, and I would love to kind of dive a little deeper on that merger because, as you said, it's bringing two cultures together, and here you are responsible for those two cultures. Give us a little lessons and what you would have done differently. And
so many things, right? It's a challenge. I would say when you look at things, whether it's compassion, whether it's listening skills, whether it's empathy, I would say grit. Because you have to be able to listen. It's important to listen to the membership, listen to the staff, because feelings are real, perceptions are real. And I think whenever you are in any type of merger, not promising things that actually aren't going to happen, right? And so being really transparent about how things are happening, what they can expect in the future is really important. So the things that I would do different, I think when we went into the merger and the role that I was in, we were told the credit unions are the same, and things were so different. Job descriptions, job families were different. The roles were different. Even though you were called the same thing, the roles were still different. And so I think being way more transparent during that process and over communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, again, it's so funny. We've been doing this now a year, and so few people's career paths have been a straight line. In fact, I don't even know if we've talked with anybody whose career path is a straight line. And so you've really, again, it may have been the same industry.
Yes.
But the twists and turns of life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, share with us some more of the lessons learned and, experiences that really helped shape who you are as a leader.
So growing up at the credit union, I held obviously several other positions. And so before management, I started off as a teller there and have worked my way up. And so when I look at the other positions before leading into management, I was very black and white. And I was very selfish because you look at those roles and it was all about, you were basically kind of like an entrepreneur, right? You came in, you did your work, you worked with your members, and then you left for the day, right? You weren't overseeing a whole branch of employees. And so kind of like when Tanis was saying I was the team captain, it was and I think it's the way that I was raised too. It was very Catholic, strict military. Mm-hmm. And so I think you can take some of those traits and adapt them into more like empathy, asking more questions, compassion. I was definitely a doer. And so it was just like get the job done, get it done fast, don't think about anything else, and like what are the consequences of doing that. So I think there's perks of being a doer, but there's also, when you're in those roles, how can you show up for other people? And so I think I still am the same person, but I've grown through experiences of the importance of empathy, compassion, and just having people feel valued. I think that's what's super important.
Absolutely. And you talk about these values and how leaders bring values into the organization and operationalize that. So kind of expand on that and what's important to you and how have you operationalized your values?
I love so we have operating principles and values at the credit union. And so they're joyful, approachable, and you take a look at the credit union space, and we're all about people helping people, right? That's our movement. Yes, we are a financial institution. Yes, we handle your finances, but it's more than just transactional. It's way more relationship. And so when you think about what people's values are, if you are here and you want to help people, our organization is a great organization to be there for. Because you think about the top 3 stressors in people's lives, right? Health, money, family, right? And so we get to be a part of that journey for the members, no matter where they're at in their lives. And so we always, when we talk to people, there's regulations, there's compliance, there's all the complexities of banking. But at the end of the day, it's about the relationships and just helping people achieve the dreams that they want to achieve.
And as Chief Experience Officer for the organization, how have you been able to, take your own personal values or your beliefs about this work that you have such a great amount of experience in and kind of like create solutions or programs that operationalize those? Have you, can you give us some examples, or have you had the opportunity?
So, a lot of it is when we go into a community, we never just put a brick and mortar branch in that community and say, here we are, right? It's a lot of planning going up front. Like, where do we want to be? Where can we have the biggest impact? So we're boots on the ground first. And so our community impact team, I get to partner with them. And so really identifying key stakeholders. What events should we be at? How can we partner with you? And it's always fascinating to get our feedback back from them, because they're like, well, what do you want out of this? And we're like, we don't want anything out of it. We just really want to make a difference in the communities. So when I was able to manage our Richfield branch, it was brand new. It's not how Richfield is today, thriving city. So very small town, nobody knew about us. And so thinking outside the box is, how do you get families to know IQ? And so one of the events that I created there that is still going is an Easter egg hunt. We literally did it in our parking lot, but it brings families together, and that's really like our demographic that we want to serve, right? So you have the young children that you can influence and teach financial literacy to, and then you have the parents that you're helping them achieve their goals as well. But it's just always thinking outside the box of what community events can we be at so that people see us in a different light other than just their financial institution.
Yeah. And then, again, here you've survived this huge growth that the organization's had, a merger, economic challenges and politics and everything else. But you said it earlier about building teams and bringing people together. So expand on how your approach is on building that team and getting everybody aligned on the right vision, mission, values.
Yes. And so I get to partner with so many great teams at the credit union. And I think a lot of it is what I look for in my leaders is, do they have the ability to have a vision that is beyond what we're doing today? Because it's so easy to just take a look and like, this is working today, but really like, what is the future of banking in 3 years? What channels are members going to be able to need to access their funds? And so I think visionary one is huge. Adaptability, like you said, we've grown from a $200 million credit union to a $2 billion credit union. And so we can't operate the same. So are people able to adapt and be flexible, pivot, right? We went from a lending environment to a deposit environment to a balanced growth environment. And so are the leaders able to, again, back to compassion, because they have to be able to listen to the staff, because we're asking them to completely change like mindsets, right? And so the ability to listen, the ability to still drive results, because at the end of the day, even though we're not for profit, you still need results, right? So that you can give back and make a difference. So I think it's hard just to nail down one attribute, but I would say as we are in strategic planning for our next phase, a lot of it is that strategic visionary thought process. But what I love about our group is we do it together. And so I have 7 direct reports. And so just because one's oversees community impact, it doesn't mean the contact center people and leaders can't help that vision as well. So it's a lot of collaboration.
Yeah, it's really amazing to hear about this. Honestly, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back really quick to the point in time when you were helping oversee this merger. I'm curious if you had to kind of figure out some of these things on the fly, or if you had a mentor or support, or like how did you navigate that process?
So mentorship has been an interesting path for me. I would say today I have an amazing executive coach that we talk on a monthly or more frequent basis. But I look back at my career and just even growing up. So I'm a woman, I'm a minority. There's few that look like me. And so trying to find mentors that you trust. Whenever you get feedback from a job, I've had lots of disappointments as well throughout my career, denials for jobs, overcoming objections, things like that. And so feedback, I believe, like pre-merger was like, keep doing what you're doing, Ali. And I was like, okay, well, this is like the 3rd time. And so whatever I'm doing probably isn't enough. So I had to find a mentor that was actually going to tell me things that I probably didn't want to hear. That kind of like stings at first and you want to crawl in a hole, right? But then you have to like, okay, how bad do I want this? Perception's real. How do I change those perceptions about me? So I did. I found a mentor that was able to provide me those things, but it was rare to have that support.
And did you actually go out like intentionally saying, I need a mentor, I need some personal growth and some development? And how did you find that person?
So I grew up with him at the credit union. He's no longer with us today. He has moved on. And really, our friendships, I think, made a difference because I trusted him outside of the professional space as well. And so I think that helped. But really, I think it was up to me. I needed to go find somebody and tell them exactly, like, I need the feedback that no one's willing to give me that I need if I want to progress in my career.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because, again, we kind of, as I'm also a doer, you know, and you get bogged down into those nuances and everyday dramas and crises and, you know, all of that. But to actually take that step backwards and really start looking at things and examining things from a almost existential perspective. Yeah, that's a very hard challenge, especially being a mom, being, you know, trying to do all of that piece of life. So what advice would you give either your 20-year-old self or another person coming up?
Oh, so a lot of it is we as women especially talk about imposter syndrome, right? We're our worst critic. And so we always have those voices of negativity. And so surrounding yourself by people that you admire early on. I always tell people too, the advice that I give, we always have mentors in our life, right? And sometimes you have the mentors where you go to and you're like, I know this person's going to tell me I'm right. they're wrong and everything that I want to hear. But then I need a mentor that's actually going to tell me what I need to hear. And those are the harder conversations. So if I look back 20 years ago, I think the power of your voice is huge and embracing and taking up more space. I think sometimes like the imposter syndrome gets in you, like what I'm going to say isn't worth the value or what everybody else is bringing and comparing it. And so taking those risks and using your voice, I think that's powerful.
And do you support that within your team and ask your team members to go find those external mentors and people that can really help them?
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I feel like I pride myself in is because of my experience, I want their experiences to be different, right? Just like our kids. We've been through it. We know what it's like. Sometimes you have to go through it on your own to actually experience those feelings. But there's so many spaces that we provide and that are provided within our communities to get mentorship. But a lot of it too is being vulnerable, right? And like telling your story. And so when they see and hear your story of your path, it opens up more conversations and more opportunities for them to find their way. So I think it's always important to create a safe space to have those conversations, no matter what your role is. So I always like to take title out because we're all here for the greater good.
You know, I'm going to go off grid just because I've known you, and it's really interesting to hear you describe some of these experiences. I think maybe I'm most struck by the fact that I think as you've softened and opened to other, like you've experienced success. And it's like, I'm very impacted by this right now. I'll just tell you, I mean, like, I'm really like having this whole thing in my mind about like, wow, how powerful. I mean, I think anybody who knows you at all would say you're a tremendously powerful person and always someone that commands a great deal of respect. But what I'm hearing you speak to is kind of these softer qualities that I think seem to have really paved the way to like where you are now. How did you transition, or how did you cultivate? I'm just curious. You know, do you mind before we close up?
So I think I think the experiences I had through my first marriage, obviously, I think. Probably impacted me the most, right? You really have to sit back and be like, who am I? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up for my kids? So I think kids are a huge thing. They teach you a lot of patience. I still don't have a lot, but I have more than I did. And realizing that it's just not about me. I would say my upbringing and my first, I would say 15 years of my career, it was centered around me and what can I accomplish? What can I control? How can I be the best? And what you learn through life is you're way stronger with numbers and the people that are around you. And so surrounding yourself by smarter people, by more intelligent and visionary, strategic humans is priceless. And so I just think that I always tell my team, I'm like, I still learn from them every day, and they challenge me. And that's what I appreciate from them. I never want a team where they're like, you're right, yep, we're going to do this. It's just like, okay, this is my feelings or my thoughts, but let me hear what you have. Or sometimes I don't even go to my feelings and my thoughts because what they have is right on par. So, but I think those are those skill sets, right? When you take like personality tests and things like that, are you red, blue, green? Yeah. And so I would say in previous, it was definitely like red, type A, and I still think that I'm more definitely type A, but I think I know how to adapt. And when you think of like the people factor, the psychology of just human behavior, there's the soft skills go so far. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting, and I'm going to say this. I'm a wee bit older than both of you two. But I remember after college, and especially in grad school, a woman had to kind of emulate male traits. And then we also talk about this imposter syndrome that women go through as we progress in our career paths. And just that transition of embracing, I use the word vulnerability.
Yes.
Which I think is a huge strength as a leader and is getting more valuable today than it was valued 20, 30 years ago. How do you, is it self-taught? Is it, what happened that really kind of made you switch of saying, I need to embrace me? And I'm going to say it, kind of the feminine power that women have.
I would say that probably in the last 5 years, really embracing that. Again, I have to give a shout out to my executive coach, Tracy. I think that she has been a huge piece of that. Obviously, when you have a great support system in your home life. And so I have an amazing blended family, an amazing partner, and then kids that support me. And so when you have people surrounding you that believe in you, the confidence is there, right? And so when you know what that feels like and you have that story because you've been through things, I think it's easy to transfer that, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, right? Because I think as an executive too, we get these personas that Ali's life is perfect. Nothing happens that's bad. There's no trauma. We still have the same struggles. We still have the same pains. We're still human. And so I think learning throughout the credit union and being exposed to different executives, different professionals in that space, learning that the power of stories is huge. And so I think I learned from me telling my stories about my personal life made me more human, and people were more willing to open up to me and to have conversations. I get the amazing opportunity to do, they're called Chats with Ali. And so I do them with my entire downlines. And so we meet between 2 to 4 times a year, and we just talk what's going well, what's not going well, how can we make a difference? What do you think I shouldn't know that I should know? And that's where I get my feedback, because if they weren't open with me, then I'm not creating an environment where they feel like they can trust and say maybe things that aren't positive that I need to hear.
This is wonderful. Thank you. I'm really inspired, and I love that, I love hearing your story, and I also just love that, at a certain point it became about other people and you helping them and kind of releasing whatever was pushing you in the beginning of your time in the professional world. So thank you. Our last question that we ask our guests every time is what hiring for good means to you.
I think I've been thinking about it a lot, and I was like, it's simple. Just because I work at a credit union, and especially IQ, we're people helping people. And so hiring for good is, if you enjoy and have a passion for making a difference in the communities that you live, then you're a perfect fit, because that's what we're doing. We're the financial well-being that we're providing our members in our community is priceless. And so we really want people that want to make a difference. And it's really that simple. Because we can teach people our systems and all the transactional and the compliance, but to really have a heart for the community, that's something that that's in you.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. No, I can't thank you enough, Ali, for sharing your story. And just like Tanis, a lot has hit you because you do think, oh, they're an executive, everything is fine. And to bring that human perspective into it, which I would add is hiring for good, because we are whole people.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, so fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a treat. Thanks for joining us today at Hiring for Good. If you were inspired by our conversation, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you want to learn more about our executive search services, check us out at www.hiringforgood.net or our company website, Acumen Executive Search.
Thanks so much, and don't forget to join us next time for another in-depth conversation about transformational leadership. Until then, have fun.